Okay. Right.
All right, I'm coming, I promise. Okay, sharing my screen. All right, everybody see that?
Yes.
Awesome, okay. So welcome everybody to the 4th PAC meeting. We are going to today, this is the agenda for today. So we did our welcome and our introductions. The goals of today's meeting is just to kind of review some of the information that was provided in your meeting packet. We're not going to review everything in detail. I've selected a few things that either are new items or are things we need to make decisions on that we'll talk about, but you can refer to your meeting packet when it comes to additional information, or if you have questions, that's what it's there for. We're going to spend a little bit of time, about a half an hour, on the park naming competition discussion. We're going to discuss the results from that park naming competition, and then we're going to try to come up with a consensus process, whether we make a decision here at the meeting or if we defer it to like a polling after the meeting. Then we're going to look at some of the inputs, the high-level inputs that are in the draft system-wide recommendations that was provided in your packet. Then we're going to shift into review some of the site-specific capital improvement sheets. You've seen these sheets multiple times at your last PAC meeting and also at the community meeting. So again, we're not going to go through those in detail unless there's a specific site you want to look at, but we are going to look at 4 different sites specifically: Zuzu Park, Hillview Park, OPI Field, City Hall Park, and one that's not on here is the Rec Center. And then we've negotiated with the city and the district an extension on this project. So we're going to request a 5th PAC meeting after the summer to share a draft master plan document with the PAC and to review that with you. And basically it would just be a meeting to discuss any questions or clarifications you have on that document. And then we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to move you guys over here. Okay. We're still good? Everybody can hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Next. So we launched the park naming competition survey for 3 weeks. We received 44 submissions. The results of that are in your packet, so I encourage you to refer to it. It will be up on the screen, but in the competition, there were 2 things I want to focus you on this screen: what we're looking for and what were the rules and guidelines. The goal of today, or the role of the PAC, is to select 3 names for each park. And we're looking at renaming City Hall Park, Hillview Park, the park blocks, and 3 or 4 River Ridge subdivision parks. So in total, we're looking for 6 to 7 names. The PAC will recommend 3 names, 3 top choices for each park, and then that will go to City Council, and City Council will make that final selection. So again, what we're looking for from you today is 3 names that can be recommended to the City Council, or at least some discussion on what names kind of stand out, and we'll do a polling process after this meeting. So what we're looking for, the public was encouraged to consider names that reflect the following themes: local history, historical figures, events, or traditions, the natural environment, native plants, wildlife, or geographical features, community spirit, themes of unity, recreation, or shared experiences, indigenous or multicultural influences, respecting Boardman's diverse heritage. And then there's a list of rules and guidelines. I want you to kind of keep these in mind again as we're moving through these park names. They are names, by submitting a name for this competition, participants agree to the following: names of living people and commercial brand names should not be used. Names should be respectful and inclusive of all cultures and communities. Names should be easy to pronounce and remember. Names should be creative and original, reflecting Boardman's history, culture, and community spirit. Names must avoid offensive, discriminatory, or controversial language. Participants must submit or may submit multiple names by using a separate submission form, which some people did. They should not closely resemble or duplicate existing parks, streets, or public spaces, names in Boardman or nearby areas. For example, the reason we're renaming City Hall Park is because we have City Park and City Hall Park. So we want to avoid doing that again to cause confusion. The last two bullets, finalists will be selected by you, the PAC, and then final selection will be by City Council. Any questions on the rules, what we were seeking, or your rule is the PAC?
No, I just don't think the park here is named City Hall Park. I think that's what they call it. Because the
Right,
name
that's-
Little
that's-
Tot.
Right, so actually, I think what that sign represents is not the park,
No, just the play structure.
it just represents the play structure.
Okay.
So we just have been calling it, I mean, I don't know what people called it before we started this process. We've just been kind of referring to it as City Hall Park, that's not a
What's the
name.
sign say?
Little Tots Park,
It's Little Tots Playground.
yeah, Little Tots Playground, yeah.
Yeah. It's just referring to the playground because that's what Land West put, and they didn't want their name on the board originally when they
Oh.
donated the money to put it in. So they called it Little Tots Playground.
Yep.
Just to represent.
Play on little kids and Cedar Tot.
Yes, it was absolutely that.
There you go. That's how
And
they
then-
have Little Tots.
And then Hillview Park, again, that's just the name of that
Small fry.
subdivision. The park blocks is just what I've been calling it because they're blocks and they're long and it's a park full of blocks.
Block of parks.
And then again, the River Ridge they don't have any names.
Yeah.
So Park 1, Park
Right.
2, Park,
Right,
and, okay.
right.
Did you read
Yeah.
the name?
So any questions on the rules or guidelines? Are they pretty firmly in your mind? Because I think we're gonna be referring back to those. So I encourage you in your packet, turn to that page. So
Yeah,
we can talk about it.
because there are some that,
Don't fit the rules.
and then, yeah, because there's people that are alive, and then there's some that already have, like Sam Boardman, that's already the elementary school. So I don't think we want to go that way either.
And he also has parks across the state of Oregon under his name because he was part of the Oregon
Yeah,
parks.
he has
So
them everywhere by the ocean side.
Right.
And then easy to pronounce. Yeah.
Great.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking for from you, because I don't know a lot of this information. Who's alive, who's not. So
And
as
what are you-
the public, go ahead.
For easy to pronounce, to who,
yeah. Yeah, because
Right,
to who.
we're gonna have to just say in general. I mean, you can't say,
Try not to discriminate, so.
yeah,
Right, I mean, I.
simpler the better.
And how
To
many-
this day, I still can't pronounce Temuscalet, I
Cause
mean,
I
I've learned,
can
but
I can pronounce all of them on here.
yes.
All
But
right.
also.
So
Go.
let's move through each park at a time. And what you're going to see common to all of these parks is the public was asked to either provide a specific name they're recommending for a park, or to provide a name that could apply to any park. So you'll see this, you will see this box on every screen, because those are park names that can apply to any park. So my thought is, let's go through this first to see if any of these violate city rules or the guidelines that were issued, and eliminate things that we should not be considering. Is there anything on this list of any park location doesn't matter that you feel should be it's disqualified because it didn't follow the rules?
I think the way you lived,
Way you let wins. I think that needs like welcome in the Umatilla
Where
language.
you let,
I don't feel we have a huge Indian culture in our community.
I would agree,
So,
not a Umatilla,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So can we go?
yeah.
Okay.
And,
Wagon Wheel is
actually,
already in
this
Irrigan.
Yeah, wagons.
Wagon Wheel's in Irrigan.
wagon wheel,
Yep.
okay, okay.
Well, there's a subdivision, Wigwell subdivision. Yeah, I think it would be confusing.
Which
Quetzal
one?
Park, I'm trying to figure out Quetzal Park. Here's the problem I have with Quetzal Park. Is there's a park out at the far end of the county, just before you go into Gillum County, called Quesnel Park. And I would, I appreciate where the Quetzal Park is coming from, but I have a concern it could get confused with Quesnel Park.
100%. Like. And the other thing is thinking, once we get these established on Google, imagine you trying to plug them in
Right,
and having two so similar that you could be showing up to the wrong location.
right, right.
Yeah.
I think Heritage Park should always go.
Yeah.
There's too many
So it's the
heritage.
Quesnal, is this spelled right, Q-U? Quesnal?
Yeah,
Quesnel is Quesn, I think it's Nal, but I'd have to look for sure.
Yeah.
So we're getting
And
rid
it's
of
a
that one.
county park, okay,
No, it's actually a federal park.
It's Federal Park. Yeah. It's 3 Mile
okay,
Canyon.
federal.
No, it's actually on federal land out there.
No, I
It's,
know, but it's at 3 Mile. The
it's at the
exit.
3 mile exit, yes.
It's out there.
The Marty Myers road exit.
Marty Myers. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's a little section within that.
Yeah, there's an inland fishing site and then there's a vault toilet and a little beach. I mean, it's a nice little park and it's very unimproved and it's a great place. Yeah.
and I hate to cross this one
Okay.
off. Pam and Lee Dawkins.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dock and Landing has to go. They're alive. Unity Meadows, I don't dislike that one, but we now have a Unity Loop and,
Or Unity Park.
and a manufactured home park, and they will have their own little playground in there. So I'm just afraid that Unity would become confusing with that.
Heritage is used
What's the what is the
Uh,
playground? Sorry, I'm just gonna write some of these notes here.
Yeah, the Unity Park, so there is a manufactured home park that has been approved and they're in development, and the name of the road is Unity Loop. And there is a common space, it would be private to the park, but there's a common space in there that will be a park for that development. I wouldn't want to get another park confused with that development. And so the word unity is the problem.
And Heritage
Okay.
Park is everywhere. Central Park is everywhere.
I want to slow back down a little bit on Heritage Park. And I just want to throw an idea out because this is under the any park.
Yeah,
If the Heritage Trail gets rerouted under the BPA lines, and would it not be interesting if the Heritage Trail went through Heritage Park? I just want to lay that out there. I just want to say that. I'm not specifically
For-
advocating that, but for the
Which park?
park
What
blocks,
park?
for the park blocks, if the whole park blocks was called Heritage Park Blocks, then the Heritage Trail would go under a portion of those. I'm just, again, I'm not necessarily selling it,
When
but
you master plan that park, you could really.
you could really build on
You could
that.
Really build on that as a master.
which is
plan.
what this says,
Yeah,
storyboard to pavilion.
Right, and again, the Morrow County Heritage Trail does pull in, I mean, the interpretation when I was at the county, when we did the interpretive plan, for the whole trail, we talked about Lewis and Clark, we talked about the Oregon Trail, we talked about the Missoula floods. I mean, there's a lot of heritage, and then we also wanted to do interpretive panels on flora and fauna and all of the rest of that. So again, working with the county, if the Heritage Park blocks and the Heritage Trail went through it, there's just something about that
yeah. it
could be
makes sense.
interesting, could be, again,
It's one-
finding that way to work with the county relative to how the Heritage Trail, because it won't go through all of them. But we also have a request for creating a loop with the trail. So where we could actually go, you know, at this point, the Heritage Trail as envisioned by the county would start from Maine and go west. That doesn't mean that for us with the park blocks, we couldn't continue a trail from Maine to the east.
Right.
And we have Oregon Trail Boulevard envisioned all the way out to Laurel Lane, which means we could figure out how to then create a pedestrian corridor under the freeway and come back through the port. I mean, or within the port connected back to the Heritage Trail.
Right.
So I just want to set that on the table
Okay.
about connecting heritage. I would change the name a little bit. I would pull from that, but it would be the Heritage Park blocks. Because again, we've got, it's a multitude. All of those sections could be kind of its own little individual
Yeah.
component within a whole. So I just want to put that out there as something to contemplate for that one. But I agree, Central Park gets used everywhere. I'm happy crossing that one off.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not going with Parky McParkface.
Are you kidding me? That was my favorite.
I was like, are we really seriously?
And
Well,
Cartman Park, I don't know who Owen Count Carmen is, but.
Yeah, I don't know who the big brother and the cousin are, but Cartman Park and Windsor Laurent, I think if they're still alive, they would have to go. And I agree, Parky McParkface, that just doesn't work. Central Park, yeah, I think all three of those. Now, I like the idea of Beaver Landing, but my concern is we don't really have a park that we're naming that
Close to
would
the-
be close to the river. I think if we had something that was closer, like if we could work, if we were having a conversation about renaming Marker 40, that would be a place to call Beaver Landing.
I would call it Eagle Landing.
Yeah,
Because
because the Eagles.
the Eagles are camped out
Mhm.
there,
Yeah,
but either one of those don't really,
they don't
Sure.
fit in the parks that we're developing.
no,
Yeah,
So both of those?
yeah.
so
Parquet.
can you translate that?
Puente Cultura.
Yeah, can you help us with that?
What's that mean?
Uh,
Are we eliminating beaver and eagle?
Yeah,
Yes.
bridge, it's like a cultural bridge park.
Yeah, Cultural Bridge Park.
okay.
Which one?
It's right, kind of in the
Where's
middle of
that?
that, Parque Puente Cultural.
Oh, there it is. Parque Puente Cultural. Okay. Yeah, there's a few on here. So I thought it was interesting that, again, you're a majority community, and a lot of several of these are using the Spanish language to create more of an inclusive park experience. So, do you
So
think
two above-
Parque?
Yeah, two above
Go
that
ahead.
is the Totos. Again, can somebody help me with translation on that one?
This is everybody's park.
Everybody's park. Okay, so PARQUE is park.
Vodka.
Okay. And Totos is,
And I would do cultural park or cultural bridge park. Like that. Not park.
Do what now?
No, I would put park and bridge or cultural bridge park.
Bridge is what?
Puente,
Okay,
So,
I would go with
Cultural
cultural
Puente
bridge
Park.
park.
cultural Puente,
so basically just reverse
Yeah.
those.
Right, Jessica, what do you think about?
yeah.
I think that sounds good. Parque, or maybe just Parque Cultural
Yeah, instead of the bridge.
instead of the puente. Yeah, it's just
Parque Cultural sounds better.
Yeah.
Cultural park,
Mm-hmm.
take the bridge out.
So you take out the,
So it'd be cultural park. So, okay,
I like that. Because you could figure that out. You know what I mean? Like if you were typing something in, you would get cultural, because everybody would spell cultural correct. And then you could get yourself to the parquet.
right,
For park.
right,
Because you gotta think of the general person typing this into Google.
right. Now, the question is this is any park, so.
Or it would pop up,
Yes.
because if they put parks in Boardman, Oregon, then
Yes.
It would pop up.
park pop up.
So the question is, and again, that's for any park. So if we like that, we should pull that out and say, okay, let's see where to put it and let's not make a decision where it goes yet. Is that kind of what we're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. What about
Okay.
what about the park, the tote, I'm sorry, I don't,
De todos,
Thank you.
everybody's park.
I like both of them. I don't think we should use both of them. We should use one or the other. And it might be that we choose which one to use based on which park we apply it to. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I think
How many
Three.
parks do we have?
6 or 7.
Oh,
So City Hall Park, this one, Hillview, which is the one out that way, the park blocks. And then River Ridge 1, 2, and then we don't know if there'll be 3 and 4 or just 3.
I think we should at least have 2.
To,
2 in Spanish.
okay,
Or,
but I think we need to figure out which parks would be
are we leaving Anderson Street?
in Suzu Park, really, that's Suzu.
Suzy Park?
And City Park has been City Park
You can't
forever.
rename it.
Why Zuzu Park?
Well, when
Anderson.
when they came, the current developer that's doing the new homes over there, that's a Paley Park subdivision,
Yeah,
Bailey Park. Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life.
yeah,
Little girl's name was Zuzu. The street used to be Dune Street and the street
Yeah.
name got changed to Zuzu.
yeah.
So it's at Zuzu Park. It used to be Dune Park.
Uh,
And when you talk about Dune.
Because of the
Park-
little girl Christmas show?
Yeah.
Oh, my lord.
That entire development is around the
movie.
The movie.
Yeah, you know what? I lived over
Is
there
it
for
the-
5 years ago, 100 years ago, and I had no idea about any of that.
Well, but see, that's new.
This is a new development.
This is
Oh,
Bailey.
well, I know the new development.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would have been, it was Dune or it was,
It was Dune Park on Dune Street.
yeah, there was something else before Dune even. There was another name in there before or after Dune,
Could be,
before Zuzu.
could be,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, we're not touching Zuzu Park.
Okay,
Okay.
So, what about these parks right down here? There's several names in this one submission.
Yeah.
Are any
No.
of those,
No.
no, because we're not on the river. We already have Columbia everywhere.
River Bend doesn't
there was
make
no
sense.
real explanation given of why those names were
So,
significant, which makes it hard.
so Giselle, I kind of like a couple of those, but here's what I'm thinking. Remember the conversation we had with the folks, within that site meeting we had, and we had several people there, and we talked about how that larger potential park at River Ridge could become kind of an area that where we had a number of features, a water feature, a sand feature, all of those kinds of little things in there.
So like.
Do you know what I see in
Yeah.
all of those names? I see the ability to go in and have a park that we name something, and then within that park have,
Like the Happy Trails Park. I like the Kitty
well,
Cove.
have Kitty Cove, a water, kind of a splash, if there was some kind of a water feature in there, it could be Kitty Cove. If there was like a walking path in it, it may design for kids, it could, maybe with a storyboard, it could be Happy Trails Park. Or Happy Trails Walk, I don't know, or just Happy Trails. Little Columbia Playland could be, if there's a place, you see where I'm headed?
Yeah.
Is kind of provide those names or something like that to the areas of the park. I mean, you could even do something like that at City Park, where we would have the ball fields, the splash pad, the basketball court. I don't know where I know that the library wants to do a story walk. I don't know where we're gonna insert the story walk into the plan. But again, I guess there's not one in there that would work. Even the Sprout Park, Little Sprout Park. I like those from that perspective of,
Maybe Columbia Playland without the little.
yeah, Columbia Playland. Again, does that I don't think a whole park is that unless the whole park was a playland.
You better master plan. Playland.
Sika.
Right, right. Otherwise, you could do,
Call it Columbia Park and Playland.
But it better look like
A playland.
play,
Well, yeah, part of it was,
like
Yeah.
then you
Hermiston's.
could call it Park and Playland.
yeah,
I mean, it's not gonna look like Hermiston's, obviously.
right.
Excuse me?
Why
So,
not?
so one caution I'll say, one caution for naming park features is that often you can do legacy naming based for funding for parks. So funding's not an issue. A lot of times people want naming rights for different features of your park as part of their donation. So is funding and donated monies important to you, and letting that naming or that legacy naming be reserved for major donors? Because you can market it, or is that not a concern with some of these parks?
No, I think that local corporate funding is really important. So I think we should, in our funding chapter, we should identify that we will seek corporate and or corporate foundation support. And that a component of that would be the ability to, I mean, because we've got little tots. We've already done that. We've set a standard.
Yeah, but I didn't know that was, Lamb West until just now.
Yeah,
So you guys said that. I mean,
I
everybody
think we
assumes it's
mentioning it.
little tots kids, you know. I don't know that the majority of people here know it's Lamb Weston, that to help build it.
and my understanding is Lamb Weston did not want a lot of fanfare around
Right.
it.
Yes,
So,
I still don't.
right,
Which is good.
yeah. But that doesn't mean that we can't have a
So-
mechanism that we do acknowledge the giving.
If they want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If
So
somebody-
that would be my only caution with naming little parts of your park, is that sometimes that can be reserved for naming for major donors. And then sometimes, like I've seen in some parks, the pavilion is named and a donor gets 10 years with that name, and then another 10 years you can market it again. You can get another donor, maybe some maintenance needs to be done. So those names don't have to be permanent, but that legacy opportunity is important.
right. Okay, I like that.
So-
What about Bladen Park? Up at the top up here?
Oh, kind of skip right over that one.
That
Well,
came
he's
up
clear-
on several of them.
He's clearly dead. So he meets the criteria.
And whoever did it, they submitted him on every single one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Sure enough.
yeah.
And I would,
And it
if I was
was different.
CG,
A couple
Or just-
people submitted this name.
Bladen Park.
Yeah, I would agree, just Bladen Park. Not CG.
And if you did it, you better be given a purpose, be like explaining who Bladen Park is, because there's no one around here that knows that.
We don't know what
I didn't even know Bladen was even,
part of Boardman.
no, I didn't realize he was.
Yeah,
All right, so just remember again, so your role is to select 3 names for 2 or 3 names. It doesn't have to be 3 that will be provided to city council for the final selection. So we can have up to 3 names unless I mean, Carla, I'm gonna let you advise on this. Should we keep it to 2 to 3 or 3, or can the PAC recommend 1 name? If desirable.
I think could recommend one name, but I think that it would have to be, we would have to have a really strong consensus around one name. But otherwise, I would think we need 2. I don't know that we need 3, but if it's one name, we better be really all in agreement.
Did I lock you out of that?
All right, any other comments on the overall, or things that don't have to be associated with the park? Because then we can move on to City Hall here.
Yep, I would agree. So I think out of that list, we've pulled 3 out,
I
We-
would
4 out.
actually, prefer Parque de los Niños instead of Parque de Todos.
Okay,
I
the-
agree on that one, Norma.
Yeah,
so we're now,
Oh, we
The
missed that kind
Parque
of,
de los
it's kind of
Niños,
Park de los Niños.
Children's Park instead of park, everyone's park.
And see, I think one of those parks down there in the River Ridge subdivision could be the Parque de los Niños. It could be a little kids park, like you could almost, because it's a smaller park where you could.
When we had that meeting on site with folks, they really wanted to focus on one of those parks as being for
Little.
smaller
Yep.
kids. So yes, I think that's appropriate.
Like a river
I do,
bridge.
River
Yeah.
Ridge one.
Okay,
Get
so
rid of, do you want me to cross out Park de Todos or leave it on the list for now?
Oh, we could leave it on the list, right?
I think we leave it on the list. So out of this go anywhere, we've got 5. We've got Bladen Park, we've got Parque de Todos, the Cultural Parque, the Parque de los Niños, and then the Heritage Park, which I've added blocks to. So, and if we keep that one, that does kind of end up the park blocks. So
So what about Bladen Park?
yes, that one too. Bladen,
Oh, we're leaving that?
Todos, Cultural Park. 1, 2,
So I'm
3,
gonna,
5.
5, okay. So I'm going to copy these each page. All right, that's fine. So now, City Hall Park. So again, we've got the Bladen at the bottom spelled differently, but, Bladen,
But like one of
and
the
then these
river,
others.
Oh, which one?
one of the River Ridge, the Kitty Cove.
I think that only works if there's a water feature though.
Yeah,
So when I saw about the Quetzal Park, it made me kind of think of the area where it's like the Doveport Eagle and all of that area over there for the name.
Cause the Quetzal is the national bird of the Guatemala. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay, just-
because you guys have all the birds on that side of
yeah,
the
and
open.
we don't have any birds where any of these parks are.
Yeah.
The difficulty like with the River Ridge Parks is until we get trees and other things established, we're not gonna encourage birds into these parks. So I mean, one of our first endeavors is gonna have to be doing some landscaping to encourage environments where birds can be. But what name are we talking about in reference to the birds?
Well, that
The
whole,
Quick Quetzal, this one,
yeah, we already canceled that one
this
out,
one,
didn't we?
right?
What's all this?
Yeah, we already crossed that one out, didn't we?
That reminds me of Quesnel Park.
Yeah, my
That's what we
concern with
talked about.
Quetzal is it conflicts with Quesnel.
I thought we Xed that.
We did.
I thought we did.
Okay,
There's a similar park with that same name, up the freeway.
Yeah, we
Similar
talked
name.
about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought we already Xed that out.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so
all
we on
right,
this,
so over here, circled in red is the, City Hall Park. Is there any names on there we want to eliminate?
Sam Boardman,
Well, yeah, Sam Boardman,
the Waylet,
Wailet.
Waylet.
why are we, okay,
Why
I just am asking, why are we eliminating Sam Boardman because of the school?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
It's just used everywhere in this town already, literally.
it's overused, I don't disagree.
Heritage Way.
I put Heritage Way down as an option on Hillview Park, because I really like the direction of the Hillview Way Park, Heritage Way Park, or Heritage Park blocks, or I like the heritage concept down there, because then that's really gonna allow you to master plan it with a purpose behind it.
Mhm.
We can't do Pettigrew.
No, Karen's alive.
With,
Just too bad, because
what,
Should be.
It's too bad.
which one did you want? Which one did you want for Hillview?
And there was a group of people that submitted that about 4 years ago. During our Distinguished Citizens, they wanted to recognize Karen for her years and years of service to our community. And due to her years of being here at City Hall, they really wanted that park to be her park named after her, and they wanted it to be done before she died, because they wanted her to be able to know that and her family know that prior to her death.
Well, we
I'm
did
just-
the parent Pettigrew gazebo.
Yeah, the Pettigrew.
Yeah, so.
The parent
there's
Pettigrew?
something- Yeah,
Karen Pettigrew.
yeah, Karen Pettigrew.
The gazebo is currently named for her.
Pettigrew.
At the
what's it
marina?
called?
At the
Yeah,
marina.
Sunset gazebo.
Sunset, yeah, Sunset Gazebo is
She's got a big,
Yep.
Rock,
Rock. and
stone,
everything,
yep.
Okay.
but if I had to pick
So we're
one here,
eliminating.
Town Park.
Here, I think Tactone Park works.
Me too, cause you got Tatone Street right here.
Yeah,
And now you're,
where's the park? I'll check time.
right here.
I know, I'm just saying, like, if someone asks me, where's the park, which part, you say the tone, they're gonna be like, oh.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Kincaid.
Well, it actually has more frontage on Kincaid than Tatone.
Yeah.
Technically, but
Yeah.
I think I don't know what the history is with Kincaid. I'm sure it's a family name from somebody here.
Right.
But Tatone, I mean, I work for the county for, I mean, that's a name I've
Also-
heard.
if
Now,
we dedicated it to the Tatone family. Jody would be here, Natalie would be here, Jessica would be here,
you're right. No,
Smiths would be here. I mean, if we did something, you would have literally, like,
Yeah.
they're still impacted in this area. I mean,
I kind of like it. I mean, again, we're gonna if we do any of these unanimously, we have to have complete agreement in this group. I don't like Boardman playfield because it's not a playfield.
no,
We've already said we want to use Bladen somewhere, but I don't think that works here.
No.
I think the roundabout park is kind of cute, but I wouldn't want people to think they get to play on the roundabout.
yeah, so I mean,
They can, but it's not gonna, they're not
Not
gonna.
gonna work.
and I think you could give a really hard statement for Tatone
Tatone.
Park
Mhm.
here.
Especially as a city hall. Yeah.
You got Tatone Street, you got that, and like, they were a very instrumental part in the sixties and seventies in our community to build this, and I think a lot of people understand that.
Mhm.
I don't think you get any pushback on Tatone Park for here.
You might get some, but they'd have to know them really well. You'd have to know them really well.
Do we want, for City Hall Park, do we want to give the city council more than one option?
No,
I think you could justify Tatone Park.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with Tatone Park, because I don't see her.
and we don't wanna use Heritage Way because we're talking about Heritage Park blocks for
Yeah.
this other deal, so
Yeah.
that cancels them all out, but Tatone.
Yeah, I agree on the Tatone.
Okay. Okay. Hillview Park,
I would leave Bladen Park, but I would take off the CG.
yeah, as an option.
Elemental Park, no.
Sorry.
Harvest View Park.
Hillview Park.
There's no harvest to be done. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Harvest View.
Yeah,
Like
No.
freeway.
and
And
again,
imagine master planning that, like, how would you even implement the name of it being into the development of the entire park?
park blocks is somewhere else. It's not part of the park blocks. It will be adjacent to the park blocks, but it's not part of the park blocks. Harvest View. I think we should leave Hillview Park. I mean, that's what we've been calling
do
it. It is part of the subdivision. I mean, that's what that subdivision's name is.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm touched by Ryan Neal Memorial Park, particularly if this becomes a sports complex.
If I was gonna recommend one of the, Bridge subdivisions, or if it's like something in Tuscany, right there where he lived. That was one of his major pieces, was he literally was the Tuscany development. He was a big
Component of that.
component of getting that Tuscany Bridge to come here and get that started.
At this point, that is not yet
I know,
ours,
I know.
so.
But if over in that area somewhere, you know what I mean?
You know, I have to say, Watfield Park, that's kind of cool.
Watfield, there is a Watfield,
Is there?
yeah, I'm all,
So what about Ryan Neal?
So which park are we doing right now? Are we on Hillview,
We're on Hillview,
right? Okay, okay.
so,
oh, that's where it was. It's over in the, Vashon Islands.
oh, that's far enough away.
Yeah, that's, I knew I've seen Watfield or Watt Park.
I kind of like Watfield Park.
Power line?
No.
Power line.
Power Trail Park, no.
Yeah.
Columbia Park, nowhere near the Columbia. Walk the
I mean, it
line,
kind of is if you're looking out a ways.
walk the
I'm
line.
missing,
Or,
It's
The whole
my
story behind that
story.
one.
yeah,
hang on, I think, I might have, let me just make sure. We're on
You see-
Hillview or we're on Park Block? Cause I don't, I
You
wanna
got
point out a discrepancy in your, file. The Park Block subheading was not highlighted. So I think of several of these, Watt Park, Ryan Park, Bladen Park, Power Trail Park, those are all for the Park Block.
Oh, that's a whole new, I see. Okay, all of those, that should be a header. Okay.
I should have pointed that out.
Oh,
Yes, that was an error. So there's only four names for
Oh, I
Hillview
see.
in addition to these over
Oh.
here that we've
Okay.
got. So look up at the TV.
So we have Hillview
So
Park,
Hillview.
Blade.
So say that Hillview.
You've got Hillview, Harvest, Element Park, and Bladen Park.
I wanna know what hill are we viewing? Washington?
I can't tell you why they named the subdivision that, but the subdivision, the name of that subdivision is Hillview. I think it's the Hillview subdivision, and so we just have been calling it Hillview Park. I mean, there's no park there, so we've just been kind of talking about it. So we just
and
took the
this is the property
subdivision.
that the city owns that's out
Yep.
there, right?
Yep,
Okay, and so where's the park blocks? Where's,
well, if they are envisioned to be from Paul Smith to Laurel Lane,
So that's what you want.
under the
to call it.
BPA line.
That's what you want to call it.
So then that would be
The heritage.
starting at Ryan Neal down those names.
I would almost call that like the
The
heritage
heritage trail.
Well, that's why I like the Heritage Park Block,
Right.
Here's the Park Block.
that name
Here's the
for
Park Block.
park blocks.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see the
So-
Park Blocks on the screen?
We
If
call
this is
that
helpful.
Park Blocks, we call it the Heritage Park Blocks.
So
Yeah.
why do we call the Hillview Park the Bladen Park then?
And name it after someone
Yeah.
instead of no one.
Yeah,
But if I go-
Hillview is
But if
just,
I'm going back to my whole thing, that's the Hillview Park is the big chunk of property out there that we're gonna do the big thing on it.
The push from all of the community input has been, there is a section of people who have commented that we should evaluate a portion of that property for residential use. And that needs to be
Mhm.
vetted through a further park design for that. But that is the sports complex, the whole sports complex idea that we've never got traction on because we can't get the tribal approval along the river. That idea has kind of been relocated to that property.
Well, then I'm gonna go back to where I think that should be Ryan Memorial Park needs to be possibly up there.
Yeah, I like Hillview being, I like one of the options for that to be Ryan Neal Memorial Park, even though it's under the park blocks, I
think
would
it needs
move
to go
that.
Up to Hillview.
I do too.
Okay, plus Ryan Neal. Okay.
So I up to Hillview.
Okay, so let me grab it.
Let's call it the Neal Park.
no.
I think it has to be Ryan Neal.
Does you need to write?
I think it has to be Ryan Neal.
Yeah.
Gary and,
I think the further you can separate him from Gary, the better off you are. To be honest with you.
and Gary and
Yeah, they're so nice.
still alive.
Well, I'm sorry, whether it's alive or dead.
It was one of the
It
rules.
was one of the rules on.
One of the rules on the survey.
So we got rid of, that's why we got rid of,
Pettigrew.
Pettigrew and Dawkins.
I think the story behind Walk the Line Park is interesting, but
It's for them.
well, it would have to be, we'd have to explain that.
Right, and that's explaining just one family. One person's, his story.
So does the park block they all have to have the same name? Because
The reason,
I'm doing a walking path on.
That's the one that we're thinking is Heritage Park.
because of Heritage,
Heritage Park block.
I know, but what I'm saying is, does it all have to be one name? Could we call one side over here and then this side over here? I don't know.
well, we're trying them together because of the walk path that's gonna go through them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the piece. So through this process, the county is looking at realigning the Heritage Trail under the BPA lines from Maine going west. But we have input that says that people want us to continue the trail from Maine going east and loop it back under the Port Morrow interchange and back to the Heritage Trail. So again, it would become a spur potentially of the Heritage Trail.
I like.
Right, and eventually, I mean, down the road, there's no reason why we couldn't break them up if we wanted to, for some reason, if the trail, whatever, but I think for this purpose, it works.
Okay, so I'm on the right page. Ryan Neal will be proposed for Hillview Park. Is there any others that will be proposed for Hillview Park?
I think we should propose
Or-
Hillview.
Oh, really?
I do. I think we should give the council two.
Hillview, I think Hillview and Ryan Neal.
Mhm.
What about Bladen?
I think it could be used somewhere else. We have Ford a name over in the
We have
Hillview.
River
River
Ridge.
I think that'd be a great spot for Bladen Park. I think you could explain that. You can make it,
Mhm.
you could do a storyboard,
And then
who it is.
I mean,
the
I
elemental,
don't wanna sound
the
like,
elemental park.
I mean, even Hillview Park could be Parque de Todos. That would be everybody's park. Just saying. It
Yeah.
would be,
There's
Would be-
these names over here.
I
I feel like that's like the catchphrase of the park, of the name. That's just me.
Mhm.
Yeah, do any of these names over here on the left, should those be considered here?
I thought that'd be so awesome. I would love that.
So which ones do you want to consider from the everywhere park, or does it matter, location park, any park? Any?
Yeah, so under Hillview,
Hillview.
let's add a third one under Hillview. Let's add the Parque de Todos. I'm sorry, I know I'm not saying that right, but
You are.
In our white version of it.
Like tortillas.
Well,
And then these,
Be really cool, you
what
know,
about
like,
Harvest View? What about Harvest View and Elemental Park? Those are two
No.
on here that have not been discussed.
grocery store.
all right, we've got Harvest Foods in Umatilla, so,
Here.
oh, is this one Harvest? Oh, it is. It is.
here, Hefner, they're all harvest foods.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So, but
So there's a
let's,
park named Harvest Food. There's a park named Harvest Food somewhere.
Our grocery store,
the grocery store.
in all three, in three
Oh.
towns, they're all harvest food.
Okay,
Love the idea. I like the Ryan Neal. Arcade thing.
Mhm.
Like as one name.
As
Yeah,
one
as
name.
One name.
Connect those two as one name.
Did you hear that,
I
Giselle?
love it.
Ryan Neal
I did
Memorial,
not.
Ryan Neal Memorial Park de Todos.
Like that almost makes me want to cry
Mhm.
saying it.
Juan Neal Memorial Park, Park de Todos.
Yeah.
That,
And that'd be really easy to master plan behind that. I mean, I'm visioning it, like, that's a very easy master plan concept. There's a lot of sports into it, it has a lot of culture into it. It has all the aspects of what we want really, because that's the largest park we're gonna have to master plan.
Mhm. Mhm. I like that.
okay.
I would literally only offer that one, for that one.
That's it,
So
that's the
this
one.
is our,
I
this
just
is
like
our
that.
choice.
If we were completely in agreement across the board, I'm comfortable with putting forward Tatone Park for this park because I think we're all on board with that.
Mhm.
And I'm absolutely willing to put forward Ryan Neal Memorial Park de Todos for that. Because,
I'm against that.
Okay,
I mean, I wouldn't vote for it. Just because we already have the Ryan Neal Memorial Golf Tournament, we already have Neal Learning Center. And I mean, there's a ton of people in this town you could memorialize. And I'm not saying anything about Ryan Neal. Absolutely, I have no issue with him. But I think that the name is out there enough in Boardman. More so than a lot of other people that could be more, but it's just my opinion.
I'm gonna say that probably the Brian Newman golf tournament probably will not continue, always stay that, that's not a permanent thing.
Well, it is so far.
I know.
How are you gonna change it?
What is,
Okay, well, so let's put forward then Ryan Neal Memorial Park to Totos and Hillview Park.
There you go.
And let the council. So we've got a 1 and a 2 on that one. On this one, we just have Tatone Park because it's next to Tatone Street and, yeah. Okay, so
Can I-
Stephanie. Yeah,
Sorry, can
please.
I just give a quick little input of mine? For that one, since this is the sports complex that we're talking about, that one can also be the Ryan Neal Parque Cultural. If this is a sports complex, it's, different aspect of the sports and stuff. I don't know. That was just throwing it out there.
So Jessica, say that second half again.
Cultural park.
Oh,
Parque Cultural.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Ryan Neal Memorial Park Dig
Parque Cultural.
Parque Cultural.
Not
Okay.
there, I wouldn't put
I
there.
would put the,
I don't.
Ryan Neal Memorial Parque Cultural.
Okay, see, so when you
Okay.
say it, I'm not getting the, it
doesn't play with me.
it doesn't with me either. What did you say? They start rolling the R's and getting the accent and I'm like, I didn't roll.
The letters just left that word.
I feel like I didn't roll.
so are we doing this one as well? Ryan Neal Memorial Parque Cultural.
Good idea. I mean, it's very similar to the other one, but it does give them that option.
Yeah, 3. There you go, 3.
Do we want to do 3 or give them 2?
Okay, which one did you guys choose out of the 2 Ryan Neal ones? Which one did you guys choose?
Probably the Parque Cultural.
Okay. I mean, I don't, as long as,
Doesn't matter to me.
for me, I think there's the, I didn't know Ryan all that well. I didn't really engage with him until he was working at the port in the role of being the director. But I worked for him a while in that position and I'm comfortable with that.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this. Ryan Neal did not do much for this town in the short time he did stuff. There's other people that did a lot.
That's what I'm
have
saying.
done a
That's
lot more.
exactly what I'm saying.
So name them,
I don't know, I haven't been here long enough.
Yeah, we're not.
I just know that Ryan only had, I mean, I was here before Ryan made an impact.
I've long.
Yeah, I mean, there's other people.
Yeah,
I
but
know.
Ryan grew up here.
I get that.
And I think that's what we're trying to say. He grew up here, he came back, he did things. So I get it. So
He did what
name them. Name those people.
Well, what did he
That's
do?
why we're here.
What did he do?
He's working at the port and
Could it
different.
be,
So my dad worked at the port. He died. We got here in 77.
Okay, so
We're not naming
put
him.
up your name.
No, I don't want to because it's not, if you're gonna memorialize somebody in the city, it needs to be somebody that has had a lasting, long-term effect in the city.
Yeah.
Like if Karen was dead, that would make sense because for 50 years, this has been her life.
so could it be just Parque Cultural as the recommendation,
Literally lived
as
and
an
raised
alternative, the third?
kids to be able to participate in every sports. It was his idea to cover the sports registrations for all youth in our community. It was his idea to grow the scholarship program so every kid in our community can have a scholarship. If it comes to youth, it's Ryan Neal, and literally I continue that legacy through all my board work on the foundation, on scholarship for UEC. The chamber scholarships, while we grew the chamber scholarship to $20,000, we give out every year to high school scholarships kids a year because his mission was to get scholarships for every kid. And we literally have a plan, in fact, where we are working on getting a scholarship for every kid in Morrow County.
Are they named after him?
What's named after?
Any of the scholarships?
Yes, that's where the
Right, so-
Ryan Neal Memorial Golf Tournament raises scholarships for the chamber, the Boardman chamber.
Right.
Okay,
So that could be, when this gets submitted to city council, this can be some of the reasoning, this is the pros and the cons, and one of them is that there's several other things in the community named Ryan Neal.
yeah.
Wall
And then
pictures,
also, he was very correct.
I look at the things they accomplished.
Okay, what are those things and who are they?
Well, I don't know their names, they're all on the wall there.
Yeah, but they're just mayors. What else did they do besides be the mayor?
You think the Dewey West? I mean, he's got,
He's got a road,
yeah, yeah, but so, yeah, but
Right.
that's my point.
right?
I don't know.
Well, at the end of the day, we are not the final decision maker. We're gonna push this to city
Actually, yeah.
council. And so let's make sure, since we're not in full agreement, let's make sure that they've got 2 or 3 options for Hillview Park.
So I feel like the Parque Cultural, they're gonna be like, what's so cultural about it? Like just the different sports.
I think you can turn it into a cultural master plan. I think you can bring in multiple cultural.
But if you look at
aspects for
the
stuff.
explanation for that one, that is perfect. If you look at the explanation next to that,
Uh-huh.
where it shows that the reflects a connection and mutual respect we should have for all cultures. Not just necessarily
Mhm.
culture, but it's for all cultures, the respect for everything.
Which one's that?
The cultural,
cultural one?
yeah, I mean, the explanation next to it is what sold me on it.
Okay,
And that's a big thing in sports, showing respect. That's a big thing that's taught in sports, is respect. So proposed Parque Cultural is the third choice, just Parque Cultural, correct?
I think so. And if there's any
Okay.
dispute about whether or not it should be a first name, then they can just drop the name in.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not part of this,
Okay.
but.
Yeah.
But you're here.
I'm here, so.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on then.
oh wait, what
We
three
gotta,
are what three
we're,
are we putting forward? We're putting forward the Ryan Neal Memorial Park de Todos.
Parque Cultural.
oh,
And then
DeSoto?
just standing on its
No.
own, we're putting forward Parque Cultural. And then we're putting forward Hillview Park.
No, the first one, change the first one to just,
Yeah.
park, cultural park,
Cultural. Yeah.
cultural park, and
Yeah,
then
it's
just.
up on the,
And then he'll be.
it's up
And
on
then-
the screen, Carla.
Yeah, I can't read it, so it's not,
Too small.
Okay,
okay,
Yes, you're right, Giselle. You have it.
okay.
Yes.
okay,
Right now.
all right. Now, on to, park blocks. Are we settled on the heritage? We're adding heritage to this?
Heritage
Yes.
Park block,
Heritage Park blocks.
done.
Okay,
Are we all in agreement to Heritage Park blocks?
It has the most common sense to it.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be linking it to the Heritage Trail, which we're trying to grow and bring more representation to. It is gonna show Heritage Trail. It's gonna be a trail
There will be a trail in it.
Blocks. Yeah.
and it'd be blocks of different chunks of things of,
Yeah.
to make it park blocks. Like you can literally explain that.
Heritage Park blocks.
Yes,
The Heritage Trail goes through the Heritage Park blocks.
yes.
Okay,
is there any of these others that you wanna send off with it, or just that?
No.
Just that one.
so I think we have 2 that we have 1 recommendation for.
No, geez. River Ridge, we gotta choose.
There could be
Next.
park, so we keep saying we like Bladen, but we haven't put it anywhere
I
yet.
put Bladen Park here.
Okay,
Parque de los Niños.
Yes, yep.
7 Drums Park is.
And which one are we on? Are we on River Ridge now?
Yes.
Is that what we're talking about? Okay, all right. Woo, all right.
which was the other one you said you liked?
Bladen, we're doing,
But we don't have Plateau Tribes here, do we?
We do, they're at the park. I don't know.
Well, they're
if
down there, they're not up here though.
I went down there today. Do people live there?
Where at?
At the
Yes.
park. Yeah.
No, on the tribe
in the
property.
tribe.
People live there.
They
That's
live
crazy.
there?
I've never been in there. I thought it was different.
Oh, I'm pissed off. But we can't do anything about
It's
it.
my first time ever driving in there.
Don't enforce anything in there.
Oh, no, I just
Yeah.
want to go see if they had seen a coyote, cause there's been
Oh, yeah.
tons of coyote sightings, so I'm trying to pinpoint where I could.
And they're getting closer too. You can hear them at night.
Oh,
Sounds
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're getting closer and closer, especially down there off on the west side of Boardman Avenue.
Yeah, that's why I went down there.
Man, it's just like they were in the backyard.
I
the
like
other night.
Meadowlark Park.
They were in the backyard at Columbia.
I liked all the bird names. They're,
I like the bird names too.
Because they are all bird names in that area. It's
Yeah, it's true.
falcon,
They are.
pheasant, eagle.
Yep.
I think if we named one of them Willow Bend, we'd have to plant willow trees. And willow trees are a pain in the butt.
That Willow Bend sounds like a town or sounds like a place like Fairwell Bend.
Yeah.
So we added,
So far, all I have is Bladen Park.
oh,
Okay.
and then
Yeah, we gotta add.
Parque de los Niños.
Oh, yes,
The
the park, the
Parque de los Niños, yes. The little kids.
Parque
park.
de los Niños.
Little kids park, right?
Yeah.
So
And, and what about the bird names? Any of the bird names?
Yep.
You've got Pajaro, is that a bird?
Pájaro Azul.
Yeah, that's a
Is that a
bluebird
bird or
park.
no?
Yes, it is.
Bluebird Park,
Mhm.
Hawk Park or Snow Geese Park, any of those should advance?
no snow geese.
No, even though I do remember them.
Snow geese are tearing up our park.
I like the Pajaro Azul Park better than those things. Cause it is
To go with
bird, like what if they were all birds? Well, I guess Grappling Park.
Well, I mean, we could reserve Bladen Park for something different at a different, in the
On down the
future.
road.
Or we don't have to use it at all.
Well, I was thinking like
Right.
the park.
There's no one here gonna know that.
For the spray park when we redo it.
No, cause it's just city park.
I know.
Well,
So out of the bird names, we're gonna keep Pajaro Azul Park.
Yeah.
I like
Right.
that.
Is that what I heard?
okay,
Okay, and no to snow geese and no to hawk?
Yes.
Okay.
And no Morrow Park.
so let me
And
ask this,
then-
we're doing Pajaro Azul Park, shouldn't we do the PARQUE?
Or do we even have to say park? We could just say Pájaro Azul. No, we have to say park. Parque Pájaro Azul.
I'm just asking a question.
Jessica, would that be Parque Pájaro Azul or Pájaro Azul Parque? No, that's Pájaro. Never mind, that doesn't even sound right out loud.
I would
like-
say Parque Pájaro Azul. I
Yeah,
don't like how
Parque
it sounds,
Pájaro
Pájaro Azul Parque.
Yeah, when I
Or
said
we
it
can
out-
just, or leave it Pájaro Azul Park. Park, I mean, pretty
Yeah,
simple,
yeah.
you know, it's the park, Parque. Self-explanatory on that.
Pájaro
I
Azul
like it
Park.
the way it is now.
Yeah.
Okay, so leave it as park, not change,
Mhm.
not change it, okay.
Okay,
Cause that's kind of
so
a
we're
trans,
proceeding with
you can go either way.
Bladen, Parque de los Niños.
Parque de los
So
Niños.
remember, we have 3 or 4 parks that are receiving names. So we need at least 3 or 4 names.
So Parque de los Niños, did we cross that one off? Oh, it's
No,
there.
Parque de los Niños, at Bladen Park and Pajaro Azul Park are the 3 I have.
Does De Los Niños Park make sense, or does it have
De
to
los
be
Niños Park,
That's for children, right? So
little?
and
kids?
not there, I would put Los Niños Park. It
Los
just doesn't
Niños
sound-
Park?
Los Niños Park sounds good. Jessica,
take-
what do you think on that? Los Niños Park instead of Parque de los Niños? That way we're, putting,
Well, there would be consistency between
Mhm.
Los Niños Park and Pajaro Azul
that's what I
Park.
was just asking about, the park thing, front or back.
Mhm.
I like Los Niños Park.
I do too.
And that's kind of mixing culture.
Yeah, mixing it, yeah, that way it's got.
So kind of mixing culture all the way across.
Mhm. So we've got history with Bladen Park, we've got Los Niños Park, which is Children's Park, and then we've got Pajaro Azul Park, which is a reference to the birds. When
So
those birds,
pick one more bird. Why don't we? I mean, I'm not against the Meadowlark part. It's just wordy.
Kinda long, yeah.
It's just
I'm
wordy.
not too sure on the Los Niños part though, because you have to kind of look at the like the context, right? So Pájaro Azul Park goes, it just sounds better, Pájaro Azul Park than Parque Pájaro Azul. I don't know, just, and then Los Niños Park, it sounds, to me, it's better if it's Parque de los Niños. But
Park.
that's the
Park for the kids.
And Los Niños Park would be Kids Park?
Or we could,
Parque de los Niños, yeah. Los Niños are of the children, you know, Park of the Children, the children's
or
park.
we could put park,
Do you have to have day in there? Can you just go Parque Los Niños?
no, oh, Parque Los Niños? Park,
What does Willow y Cielo?
cause there is,
What does Willow y Cielo mean?
Cielo Park, Sky Park,
Sky, okay.
That's kind of a
Willow-
cool name.
Willow and Sky.
Yeah.
or we could do like Para Los Niños Park.
And then
But-
just another thought. What if like Amigos Park, Parque de los Amigos? That just sounds super friendly, like Amigos Park.
Yeah.
Let's go to Amigos Park.
Yeah.
And that's not hard to say.
But aren't we looking at one of these being a kids park,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
We still
Yeah.
want that Los Niños
Somewhere,
Park.
yeah, I think somewhere for the River Bridge, one of them needs to be
Kids Park.
Los Niños. I mean, so I don't know the Spanish language, so I'm gonna defer completely to Norma and Jessica on this one, because I don't know from,
And whether it matters, it doesn't matter. But one of them's easier to say than the other one.
I mean, for me as an English speaker, I know what Los Niños means. I mean, I don't know, couldn't translate it verbatim, but I know it means kids. So when I see Los Niños Park as an English speaker, that makes sense to me. But if it doesn't make sense in Spanish, then you guys need to,
How about Parque Los Niños? Is that what was
Yeah.
on there already? Parque Los
it
Niños?
was Parque de los Niños.
And just take out the, like,
Yeah.
that's what you
Yeah,
said,
Parque
yeah,
Los
Parque
Niños.
Los Niños.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
I like that. Parque Los Niños, and that's really easy to pronounce.
Yeah,
Parque de los Niños, yeah. And it still evokes, it's a kid's park. Yeah. Okay, so I've got Bladen Park, Parque Los Niños, Pájaro Azul Park.
I like that.
And Meadowlark,
What's Para
wasn't
Los?
Meadowlark one of them?
No, I think you need to scratch Para Los Niños.
So I'm highlighting the ones that we're picking. These are just names that people are talking out loud about. So just highlighted in green is what we're moving forward with.
Parque Los Niños. And Paro, oh, you've already got Paro highlighted, I see. Did we highlight Meadowlark Park? I missed that one.
It is.
Yeah.
I
it's
just
really
mentioned it.
long.
This is wordy.
Meadowlark Park.
Meadow Park?
Meadowlark? Or, yeah.
Meadow Park.
The Oregon State Bird.
Okay, I can sell it better if it's the Oregon State Bird.
Yeah, that's what it says.
It is Oregon State Bird.
Yeah, that was their reasoning for it.
Yeah. So we need at least 3 or 4 since there's 3 or 4 parks. So we're up to 4.
Anywhere else.
I'm good with the 4 we have. Bladen Park,
Because if we only check,
if we only end up with 3, then we can eliminate 1. And we'll figure that out when we actually start naming the parks.
So Seven Drums Park's out, Willow Bend Park's out, River Ridge Park's out, Greenview Park's out,
Hawk Park's out,
Shogies Park's out.
Hawk Park's out.
And Morrow.
Hawk Park. Hawk Park sounds like it needs a different,
Yep.
like Red Hawk Park or,
So we added
I
Bladen
like that
Park,
4.
yeah.
Yeah.
Parque Los Niños,
You see the 4 she has highlighted in green.
Yeah.
Scott.
Bladen.
Except the Parks de los Niños, we're changing that, right? There's no
No.
day in there.
Yeah, para que los niños.
Shouldn't have day in.
Yep,
We're here.
right.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Over on the,
Other side of the screen,
Other
she
side of the
types it in, yep.
para que los niños.
Oh, I see. Delete. Let me get rid of this one. Okay, we're good?
We're good.
Woo! Wow. All right. Well, I had all these questions at the end to kind of help us deliberate, but I think we've done all the deliberating. So maybe we'll use this in review. Do you feel that these reflect the themes encouraged by the competition? Do you feel that they're inclusive and community-minded? Do you feel that they're easy to use and remember? Do you feel that these names are enduring? And do any of the names need clarification before you decide? Just some conclusion questions.
Yeah, I think we're really solid on Tectone Park for this one right here. We're really solid on Heritage Park blocks, for the park blocks. And we've got 4 that we've identified within River Ridge, and there will either be 3 or 4 parks there. So there may be an extra. We'll figure that out at the time. And we're giving them a lot of choices for Hillview Park.
There you go.
I'm good with that.
They can go later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Awesome. Wow, guys. Well done. Well done. So there's no need to pull after this to the larger PAC committee. You feel pretty comfortable with these decisions here?
Yeah.
I
All you're
feel
gonna do
really
is-
good.
You're just gonna
Sounds good. All right.
go up.
So we've decided in today's meeting that we're done. Woo! Okay, good job. So next on our agenda is system-wide recommendations. We're not going to go in detail. They're in your packet. Please read them. If you have comments that you want to send to Carla to forward to me, that's great. But these are the major themes there's 13 major themes system-wide recommendations that are going to show up in the master plan. So this gives you kind of the overarching direction for the full system, not each park site. So one is we're going to do a trail master plan, and the key here is a loop. We've talked a little bit about that this meeting. So east and west of Main Street in a loop, a second underpass over the highway. Wayfinding and signage system plan. So consistent user-friendly signage network. And that kind of the narrative in the recommendations is work with BCDA or the chamber and use the foundation that's been established as signage you see already. 3, public art and cultural identity master plan. So there's a call out box I encourage you to read in the recommendations. It just talks about ways that you can elevate Boardman's history, culture, connection to nature. But this is to use art to bring culture and identity and sense of place to your community. Sports and active recreation facilities. So the big themes was improve what you have and then expand to meet growing demand. So there's some recommendations in the packet, more specific, indoor facilities and recreation access. So expand and improve access, for example, improve access to the field houses mentioned in there, and then also to expand with an indoor facility. Campground and RV expansion, that talks about the expansion along the waterfront, and then additionally increasing capacity for your workforce. And the district and city are both looking for a land acquisition for a RV campground, a new 200 spot RV campground. So that's what that recommendation is in relation to. Parkland acquisition and equitable distribution. So a big theme here is the need to develop, there's lots of existing parkland, but a lot of the parkland is maintained open green space. It's not actually serving as a park yet. So develop what you have with a focus on park dedicated property or land, and then acquire land where you need it most. And there's lots of acquisition happening right now with the park blocks specifically, that they're kind of in the works. So it's exciting to see the acquisitions starting to happen. Play area improvements, so safe, inclusive, engaging play of all ages and abilities. The general thought here is to provide more diverse play, to provide more accessible surfacing, and to distribute it throughout the community, age-appropriate play. So adding toddler play, for example, at different locations. 9, park furnishing and site amenities. So the need for a cohesive, comfortable, inclusive experience through unified furnishings. Most of your parks have an eclectic mix of site furnishings, so coming up with a standard. 10, technology and amenities for events, things like Wi-Fi, water, access to electric were some of the things that came out in community discussions. 11, climate resilience, tree plantings and shade infrastructure. So expand shade through the use of trees and shade structures is the recommendation there. 12, safety lighting and after-hour access. So big highlights, enhanced visibility, security, evening access across the park system to accommodate people who have only early morning or late evening because of their work schedule. And then finally, ADA upgrades and inclusive design. So advanced accessibility inclusion system-wide through removing barriers to accessibility. So those are the 13 big system-wide recommendations that you'll see in your packet. And what I'm asking of you, do you feel like this covers what you've heard throughout this process from the community and the community needs? Or did we miss something in these recommendations?
Oh, yeah, that sounds like everything we've heard.
No, about the time I think, well, it doesn't really include, and then so, oh yeah, it does include that. So I think it covers everything. I will tell you, as sitting here being the representative of the city, this is a 10-year plan and those are 13 items, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of further planning, and that's a lot of money. And I'm not saying that to be discouraging. I'm saying that to be realistic.
Are these meant to be just guiding?
These are system-wide recommendations. So the plan is gonna say,
You have to install A, B, C, D.
the plan is not gonna say you have to do this, this, and this. The plan is gonna say, these are the recommendations. Well, I don't know what the plan's actually gonna say, because she's still writing the plan, and we'll eventually see the draft. But the
But the thought
intent,
is,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. The thought is that these are kind of guiding principles. So if you go to a site, well, some of these is an actual project. So the trail master plan, the wayfinding signage, and the art, those are actual projects that would be advanced through this master plan. The rest are kind of like guiding principles. If you're going to go and upgrade a park, then you should address ADA accessibility, you should address park furnishings, you should address those things.
Safety, lighting, and after hours access. Yeah.
So you almost need
Right.
to like divide that into trail master plan is a project. Recommendations to further improvements are gonna have required this, and this. Can you almost change that list instead of having, like trail master plan, that's a project.
Right. Trail.
Well, yeah, and within that though, it'll have all of the required changes needed within that trail master plan, right?
Right, so the trail master plan will incorporate many of those other components.
Right,
into
it
that
says
plan.
right here on this page right here where it has listed as projects. It says in there that it addresses trailhead locations, trail types, unified signage, furnishings, lighting, coordinated planning.
Yeah.
Planting, so on and so
Like if
forth.
you were to expand the campground RV park, you would obviously have to implement
Right,
technology, safety lighting, ADA,
Right,
all that.
some of those things
Or
become
just implementation.
almost like a checklist to,
just
yeah,
like they do when we build new apartments anymore. They have to have this
Mhm.
landscape, EV, that, all that stuff.
Mhm. It does kind of become it does kind of create the checklist to some degree
Mhm.
for, like, when we do the design work for City Park, because we're gonna put the splash pad there. We're not gonna just do the design work to put the splash pad there.
Right.
We're gonna address making other things, doing some of those other things. Is there enough safety features there? Is there enough lighting there? Is it,
Mhm.
right? Are there furnishings, the site amenities? Does the play area need to be improved? Does it need to be expanded?
Mhm.
So it's all of those things kind of, right, and to me, in some respects, number 4 talks about the sports and active recreation facilities.
That's almost a project.
There's a part of me, that almost wants to say, should that specifically be, and you talk to everybody, Giselle, you've been collecting all of this data. Is that one piece that has a very strong A that talks about the sports complex? I know there's a desire to improve and create more sports opportunity throughout town. So is 4 really 4A and 4B? I mean, that would be my question. Does 4A be, is that the focus on the sports complex, and then 4B is about enhancing those sports and active recreation facilities throughout the system? That would be my question, because there was so much focus on Hillview Park being the sports complex. I don't want to lose that.
So improve field condition. I almost feel like this is a parks thing that they should work on. Sports and active rec facility. I think it's something that the park can work on.
The park, I mean, the park
Parks and
district,
Recs.
yeah, the park district. Which one?
This number 4.
Sports and active recreation facilities? Well, I think there's a real
What if-
question. Go ahead.
So the background behind this, maybe there's a maintenance category that's more of a checklist. So it's more of a checklist item, and then the recreational facilities. So the background behind that is there's a strong voice for expanded sports fields, whether it's ball fields or soccer fields. The comment at the last community meeting was that the OPI soccer field is the only adult league field that's of adequate quality and is really being used. And once Front Street soccer field goes away, there's a huge deficit in soccer field availability. There is talk of the Catholic Church building a soccer field, but that's not city or district owned, and it's not built yet. So there's a need to identify new locations for soccer or sports fields, and maybe that's just Hillview Park at this point.
Data fields are.
But
private.
that's where that's coming from.
I do know, and again, this is, we're doing the road project and we have a lot of extra dirt. And I know that I think they were gonna talk to Catholic Church about putting some of that dirt on that property where the soccer field is proposed, to be able to build it up and level it out. Which would facilitate that soccer field being a better field and probably getting built sooner rather than later. I think the city has committed to building it, but yeah, eventually it would be a soccer field on somebody else's private property. So at that point in time, who manages it and maintains it? I don't think that question has been answered.
Okay, so it won't be managed or maintained by the city. Neither water rights either.
I mean, I don't think we've gotten to that level of detail in the conversation.
But it was proposed.
So maybe I can.
It was proposed to the church and the
So
church
maybe-
is up to it.
Go ahead. Maybe I can work through these with you, Carla, but some of these are more project specific and some of these is a checklist. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think so, yeah.
I worry about us using private property for any of this, just because it's open to
Closing it.
changing on their whim because they're the owner, and how much money do we dump into as a city or a parks district or whatever county,
Whoever.
and then have it pulled out from underneath you. I'm not saying they would,
Right.
but I'm saying you never know. I mean, they could sell the property, they might
And
need the
that's-
money. Well, I guess if they sold the property, we'd buy it. Or we'd
If
be
we
in
could
the running
afford
for
it.
it, yeah.
I mean, just because we're using it for recreational, our ability to purchase it might be $100,000, but they might be able to sell it to a developer for $1 million.
Right, exactly,
What are you gonna take?
right.
Yeah,
And I would have no qualms
Right.
with, I would understand that completely. What I wouldn't want us to do is have a bunch of money in it and still have that cloud over our head. possibly, potential clause, not saying that there is one, but there could be.
Yep.
And I don't know, OPI's private too,
Mhm.
but they're pretty committed to, I mean, they're not going anywhere. And they'll own that property forever.
They may expand on it though.
Yeah, they could.
Well, they are currently in the system of upgrading their potato storages,
Right.
which for now is just gonna be kind of a domino. They're using a vacant piece to build a new one. And then they're gonna improve another one, but at what point in time do they need one more potato storage?
Oh, they wouldn't put it there though. That's not enough room.
Probably not, but what,
But they could expand their plant. They could, receiving anything could go there.
right.
So yeah, almost same concept.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's.
And I think that's one of the big things that are in the park goals is that focus improvements on park dedicated land. Don't invest money in the next 10 years on lands that are not park dedicated.
Absolutely, and I think the city is gonna take that particular recommendation about that dedication, acquisition, and then dedicating that park to, that land to parks. I think the city's gonna do that, so, yeah.
All right,
Okay.
are we good? So Carla, I'm very comfortable working with you on refining this to some degree. Are we, the rest of the pack, are we comfortable with that? And can we move forward to the next section?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 3 other things that we're going to talk about before we close our meeting. What has come up, the city has funds to do park planning for 2 park sites this fiscal year. They have dedicated funds for the design of city park. And then they had initially earmarked some money for the development of Zuzu Park. However, community feedback is showing a really strong preference for doing something with Hillview Park. So we're going to ask you to weigh in on what should be the priority for the city in the next fiscal year. Should it be Zuzu Park or should it be Hillview Park, the planning for improvements at that park? We're also going to present a little bit of new information in regards to 3 sites, OPI Field, the City Hall Park, and one that's not shown here for the rec center. And then if you have any questions in relation to park-specific improvements, in your packet is the breakdown of capital improvement projects. You've seen them again a couple times. So we just edited that based on community feedback from the last community meeting. So if there's any questions that you want to ask about a specific site, feel free to do that. But let's start with this discussion on Hillview Park and Zuzu Park. So in your packet, you'll see that the plan for Hillview Park is to develop a park master plan that evaluates site options, including exclusive park use, and then a combination of park and limited housing use. So that planning process would evaluate those options and then engage with the community again to select one. The other improvements in the next 10 years planned for Hillview Park is infrastructure improvements. So extending Oregon Boulevard Trail and connecting the Heritage Trail with the park blocks. So those are the projects planned for Hillview Park. For Zuzu Park, the projects plans are a master planning process, again, to design what's going to go there. There's some priority improvements, including fencing at the property lines, parking, adding lighting. An additional midterm project would be then to add nature play, sand volleyball court, site furnishings. And then another midterm project would be to add shaded seating, picnic tables, benches, barbecue area, drinking fountain, Mr. Dog, waste station, and possibly a baseball field. So those are the projects for each of the park sites. So kind of knowing where the community is coming from, what I want you guys to weigh in on is what should be the priority when it comes to specifically phase 1 of both of these, which is kind of the design and the vision for the park.
Hillview.
Here it is side by side.
Hillview.
Which one should happen? I hear Hillview. Yes. What about the rest? And what's your reasoning for Hillview?
Well, because first of all, some of the things that Zuzu would be incorporated at Hillview if we get to the sports complex part of it. Also, Hillview will be more of a community-minded park versus a neighborhood park.
Right.
Zuzu Park is kind of
Yeah.
back in there as a neighborhood park for the Anderson area neighborhood and the
Bailey Park.
yeah, Bailey Park. So I think the Hillview thing is much more needed by the community, especially when we just got to talking about the soccer field situation. It's considerably more important in my mind. I mean, not that Zuzu's not, but if we have to put one of them on capital fund or, capital spending, I would start with Hillview.
So what I would say from the city's perspective is the reason we want to do the design for City Park is because we know we're gonna move the splash pad there. We've got to do the design to figure out how we put the splash pad in and then what are the other things that need to change and happen at City Park.
Yeah.
So in order to move the splash pad, we really have to do that design work. So that's why I think we're really not talking about City Park, but I want you to know why we think we need to do City Park. So if you guys disagree with that, if you think there's some other mechanism, then
Well, we're not
we're
talking
not
about City
talking
Park.
about it. But again,
That's already a gimme, right? City Park
as
is.
far as I'm concerned, I think that is a decision that has been made. But if you see a flaw in that decision, I would want
No.
you to point it out.
No, we gotta have City Park done.
No, yeah.
Okay, because of the splash pad. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So for this one, I think where the city is at is, granted, and when this process started, Zuzu was like, it's a blank slate. It's a real opportunity to build a park from the ground up.
Yeah.
Because other than grass and big, beautiful trees, there's not a lot there. But I think for me, over the past 6 months, as we've been having this community conversation, it is really clear there is focus on, we need to figure out how to develop that property out there.
Yeah.
And people want a sports complex. I think we have to design Hillview Park.
As an overall cost, I think Zuzu Park can be done internally through smaller projects.
Absolutely.
I do, and I think that the city also just, put aside the money in this next fiscal year for, the relocation of the splash pad and to make some improvements throughout the park system. So we have enough money to probably put some benches in, some picnic tables, do some landscaping. I think we're gonna spread those dollars around. But I think some of those dollars could go into Zuzu to, better define the parking. Or to put a fence up along the property line where there's houses. I mean, I think that there would be an opportunity to use some of those dollars. And some of those projects could be public works projects. I mean, it's not like we would have to send them out.
Right, but right now what we're talking about here is making a priority between these two.
Yep.
Right here, and we're all in agreement that Hillview should be the priority.
Yeah, I just want you guys to know that we're not thinking that we're not gonna do anything at Zuzu.
No, that's not, nobody
Yeah,
thought that.
no.
I don't think, I didn't think that. I know we'll get there, just like we will all of them eventually.
Yep.
But right now, our concern would be what Hillview can bring to us as a whole community.
Yep. Well,
So
when
again,
you,
the next year then would be a planning process, would be that planning process for Zuzu Park, or for, Hillview Park. Great.
Right.
And so far in this capital improvement plan, there is no, installation of Hillview Park in the next 10 years. So I just want to clarify that there'll be infrastructure brought to the site. That's what's being planned currently, but in the next 10 years, there's not any plans to build the park.
so I think what we need to do in that case, and maybe we need to add this to the Hillview Park, the funding that the community had previously received for the sports complex was a Oregon Parks and Rec department grant, if I recall. And I think that if we initiate this design process, I think there's a group of people that would come together and assist in the grant application process for the funds to do the sports complex improvements.
Okay, great.
Now,
So I'm going to add that as a project then.
We may
Pursue
not-
funding for infrastructure.
Yep. And the infrastructure, you do have the infrastructure identified, and I think the infrastructure is gonna be there in less than 5 years.
Yeah. Okay. And it's identified as midterm. So I think if you're gonna master plan Hillview Park, probably in the next 5 years, it's gonna be it's gonna be a high priority, as well. So we'll move this over. But also for the grant funding, pursue grant funding, that's also a high priority, correct?
Yep.
And then if funding is available, I'm assuming that that could go medium or high, build the park,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or build phase one, maybe phase one build.
Phase one build, yep.
So if funds, secured. Okay,
Right, if,
and where is that? I'm assuming that's also a high, mid or high? I feel like it could be high, but what do you think?
What's that?
I think
phase
so.
one build. Well, if medium is like a 5-year timeline, I mean, we're not gonna have the full infrastructure there for 3 to 5 years. So I think we have to put phase one build as a medium in that 5-year time frame.
Okay. Okay. Great. And then what should be the focus at Zuzu Park? So we've got about 15 minutes at Zuzu Park. I heard site parking and site security.
Yeah,
What
I
I
think
heard should be the focus.
parking, lighting, site security, and basic amenities.
Okay,
Parking.
I'm gonna add that basic amenity.
Yes, that makes sense. I think a basic amenity.
There's enough shade, we wouldn't need a covered picnic table, but a couple picnic tables.
I think if you had something like you have at the splash pad, you could almost relocate the splash pad,
The picnic tables.
the picnic tables and the,
Mhm.
those pergolas, those even those
Yeah,
repurpose them.
right. I'm not gonna move anything though until that sells.
Yeah.
I mean, well, when we move the splash pad, we'll move everything.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say you
Do
would
you
probably,
think do you think those items highlighted are basic amenities? So shaded seating or a picnic table, benches, barbecue, and then dog waste station?
I don't know if you
I
want
think that's
barbecue.
the basic.
So again, I can't read your screen.
So
It's
friends,
all-
improve
it's all-
parking, add lighting, I would add play structure. Like I like that sand volleyball, like I don't think it'd be a hard one.
Yeah, I think sand volleyball would be, you take the grass away, you probably have sand. Over there. I don't think sand volleyball would be difficult to achieve.
Grass volleyball's better than sand volleyball, less injuries.
What
You
kind of
don't need
volleyball?
Grass volleyball, sand volleyball's hard on your body.
I mean.
shaded seating area, I don't think you need to have shaded seat because you have the trees.
Massive.
I think you just need to have seating,
Seating area.
just seating. And then picnic tables, benches. Are we wanting barbecue or deals over there?
I don't know. I think that
I don't
barbecue
feel like
piece
we
is
should.
I don't either.
a question.
In the field.
It's out in the middle of no man's land.
Well, at this point in time, until it develops
Well, you
around
don't even have
it.
them at City Park. True. Where everybody uses the pavilion. I mean, if you want a barbecue, you bring your own.
Yeah,
Which is.
And then the fire department's gotta know about it.
Let's take the barbecue.
Does yours even get used, George? Do they get used a lot?
No, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are people that use them.
Yeah.
Well, my husband and I took a drive the
yeah.
other night and we drove down to McNary Beach Park. They're below, actually, that's above the dam.
Yeah.
I was surprised. There were at least there were 3 people in there. There's this little barbecue there, on the post, the little.
Yeah, because a lot
There
of
were
people
3 of
don't
them.
have
There was
them.
one guy, I don't know what he was grilling, but he had quite the fire going. I mean, he had like fire going. He had something on a bar and it was like, it looked like one of those tomahawk steaks or something. I don't know what he was cooking.
But the ones at the RV park, they're incorporated into each RV space. And they're on gravel, they got gravel under them and all of that. You'd have to,
You have to cook down there. It's
yeah,
not.
I don't think you just at the park. We need them.
At the day use park, we have the ones that are on stage.
And usually when we do any family get-togethers, we use that, so nobody has to try to bring their own barbecue or just use that one then.
Yeah.
But yeah, for over here, I just feel like it's a firehouse.
Yeah.
All right, so to recap, you'll still do a master planning process, it just would not precede Zuzu Park, so that's still a high priority. And you'll do basic amenity upgrades as a high priority.
Yep.
And those include all the highlighted things that you see on the screen. And then a medium priority is adding the play volleyball court.
Yep.
Play and volleyball court, correct? Okay,
Yep,
and I can
Yeah.
take out site permitting because that's not relevant,
yep.
because that'll already be there. Okay, great.
Garbage can.
Next item, are we good on this site?
Well, it's a dog waste station, so to me, that's almost common sense in every park.
Yeah, we probably want that dog waste station up higher. Maybe that's why you have that highlighted. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm highlighting those to move up to basic amenities. So anything that's highlighted there will be brought up under basic amenities.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you. Like, hey, Giselle, you should put garbage cans.
Well, that's common.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Telling you,
I know, cause you know what? I've asked for garbage cans over here.
yeah,
Even though we have one, we need them where
yeah.
the shaded.
Okay,
Okay, I will add that.
Cool.
Next thing is the rec center. So can everybody see this?
yes.
This has changed.
Since our community, huh?
You can take number 6 off the point
Oh, it's no longer?
no longer.
What was number 6?
Oh, man, okay. The pickleball court?
Yep,
And then does that mean that the fill on the eastern corner is going away too?
as of now, yep.
Okay. All right, never mind then. There's not much to add to this. It's all the same. That was what I was going to point out.
So no
All right.
retaining.
What about land acquisition over to the other side of Olson? There's the potential of acquiring this parcel over here. Is that staying on, George?
Which one?
The one that's on the other side of Olson over here.
Oh, that,
Right
yeah,
here.
that's just an option we talked about. It's not a plan.
The dream.
It is not? So
Yeah.
remove it?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can remove that right
Okay.
now. I don't want that out.
Yeah, that's not public.
Yeah,
All right, good to know. Okay. So there's nothing else to update you then on the rec center. Those have come and gone. The Oregon potato field, let's see, there's one other thing. Oregon potato field. Just the conversation, the initial conversations George was conveying is that you've started conversations with using this as the parking, number 1 as parking, 2 as an indoor complex. I'm just highlighting that those conversations have started. Should that show up here in this plan?
Can't go there because it's on private property and it's expansion of their potential. I mean, it could be an outdoor grass field, but you wouldn't want to build a permanent
No.
facility there.
That's a district issue, so, yeah.
Okay,
well, there are
so
discussions.
take it off. So
About the
say
district
that
requirement.
again.
There is discussions going with OPI on making number 1 an indoor facility.
Is that public knowledge though?
No,
So do you want it in the plan?
no.
No.
Okay,
So,
That's what I'm getting at.
All right, so we're gonna take out this plan, this multi-purpose indoor soccer facility.
yeah.
Okay,
Well-
and the build.
Well, so I don't know that I would take, your items under need. I mean, the community did ask for a multi-purpose indoor soccer facility, right?
right, but we don't wanna spend the money on that on a private property. The same as we discussed before.
But again, if the community has expressed an interest in, this is a plan. So if the community has expressed an interest in a multi-purpose indoor soccer facility,
It can stay on the plan.
I think it can stay in the plan,
It's not designated to a
Into that
location.
area.
but
It can't be designated on this location at this time.
so where else would we put it in the plan?
Can it just be a general topic, like a general need that
So,
should be?
so if we went back to that earlier sheet with the 13 items, is that where we talk more specifically about the need for an indoor soccer facility?
Wasn't it Giselle, wasn't that on that list?
I thought that was on Hillview.
It was. So maybe the priority is to identify a location for an indoor soccer facility. Maybe that's what that needs to be, back here.
Yeah, right there,
So
indoor,
number 5,
Cause wouldn't that be like the
maybe
most
that's,
complex?
yeah, that one right there.
Yeah, my concern with Hillview is everything we want to put out there and if there's enough space, and I don't think there is. You start talking about a full soccer and a full softball, baseball complex.
Yep.
For starters, softball players don't like to play on baseball fields, so you can't, you can, for the younger kids, you can make a baseball field function for a softball team.
But you can't cross you.
But as they get older, it gets more difficult. You have to have a softball field, you have to have a baseball field. I don't know how we do that and still have room for a full soccer complex, particularly if you're gonna figure out how, like, near Funland and Hermiston, they've got, 6 or 8 fields there, and they are age-rated size. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. I don't know that Hillview, until we get into the design, I don't know how much we can put on Hillview, and then to say, oh, we're gonna put an indoor facility there too.
Well, yeah, that doesn't, just because the community may say we want an indoor facility, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's justifiable at this point. I mean, what we need is more soccer.
and that's the reason for the checklist at the beginning, is that when you go to develop a new site, consider these things. Is it suitable for an indoor facility?
We play soccer all but 3 months out of the year.
George is
No,
holding
I
his
run
hand
indoor
up.
soccer for
Just so-
golf and
I understand that, I understand
Yeah,
that.
no, sorry,
It-
Mike, but there is soccer
But-
year round in Boardman.
Go ahead, Jessica.
So
Jessica,
I think what I'm hearing is it needs to be a checklist item that when you consider doing development on a site, that you consider an indoor facility. Is it feasible or not? Check or no? But what I'm hearing as far as Oregon Potato, should Oregon Potato Field just completely come out of the master plan, or is there a possibility of acquiring that property, George?
It's.
At this point,
To-
I don't want it on there as Oregon Potato
No.
Field. I can't put that on there as a plan,
No,
okay?
don't own it.
So on
Okay,
page
so we're gonna-
4, on your
yeah,
13 points on your recommendations, on your system wide.
Yeah.
When you get to the indoor facilities piece, make sure we're taking it off there as well.
Okay, so we're just removing Oregon Potato Field completely from the master plan. Okay,
Yep.
It's not
Great.
owned
that's what I did.
for a city.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, it is maintained by the district. That's why we maintained it on there, but we will remove it completely from the document. This is the final update, speaking to the city. This property here with the red box will be no longer park. The basketball court will be relocated somewhere in the park property on City Hall Park. So I just am bringing that up because they're as part of the master plan. That's the only other change from these capital improvement plans that you have seen over the course of the last couple months.
Right, and we are more clearly defining that City Hall Park will run just on the south side of the building. So south of the field
Right.
house, south of the road. That is where City Hall Park will be. The city is in the process of acquiring the property behind us, so over there. There's 3 properties and there's 2 property owners. We're acquiring 2 of the 3 properties closest to the City Hall. The initial plan is for that to be a,
Police expansion.
well, it's a PD expansion, but the proposal is probably gonna be more than that.
Yeah. That's quite a bit of property.
It's a
So
lot
the
of.
park, the actual park is here where this blue outline is, correct?
Yes,
That will
that is
be
the actual park,
dedicated
yeah.
park.
yes,
Okay.
that will be
Okay.
dedicated park. Yeah, when that facility gets built, when we go through the process to build that property, I am not saying that City Hall Park could not expand to the west. But
At this point.
until we know, I can't commit.
So that's
Right.
that.
And
Yes.
so at this point, should we put in here, we don't want to make any reference to that, correct? We don't want to say explore expanding to the west?
Nope.
In Nope, okay, so nothing. Okay, that's it. So we made it through. We've got, it's 7 o'clock on the dot. I am gonna ask one more thing of you all. Well, first of all, do you have any questions on any of the site-specific projects? I should give you an opportunity to ask a question.
I would just offer that
And
Jasana spent a lot of time talking over the next several weeks as she's putting together all of the chapters for the Parks Master Plan. If anything comes up, I may reach out to one or more of you. And I may send something out to the PAC to say, hey, give me some input on this. But if you all think of something, please don't hesitate to reach out to me as well.
Yes, please. And then that brings me to the last request. The initial intent was that there would be 4 PAC meetings. However, the plan is not complete. So what I'm requesting is a 5th PAC meeting at the end of the summer, beginning of the new school year after Labor Day, or before Labor Day, to set a final PAC meeting in which the goal is to deliver to you a master plan a week or 2 in advance so you have time to read it. And you can provide final comments on it before it goes to City Council. So what I'm asking for is which one of these weeks work better to schedule that meeting? The week of right before Labor Day, or one of the 2 weeks after Labor Day? Do any of those weeks work for your guys' schedule, or do you have a preference?
Fine.
You'll be gone all those weeks?
Pretty much about 3/4 of September, I'll be gone.
So if we did it the last week of August, you'd be around?
Yep. But don't make the schedule just because of me. If everybody else flies to that other thing, I can do the Zoom.
School starts the middle of that week.
No, that
No,
Monday.
it starts on that Monday.
Does it
the
start on that
25th,
Monday? Okay. School starts on that Monday.
But it starts also for everybody else in the middle of the week around us, if you're not local, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm all in for that week myself.
I'm
The
not, I'm
week of the 25th?
not looking forward to that one.
Well, you could come to a PAC meeting. It'd be a nice break.
I can tell you this year, no.
He gets over. I'm open the first week of.
Yeah.
So the Labor Day week.
Just make it. I can make it Zoom or otherwise.
Okay, so
How is that
for George and Norma, we're looking at Labor Day week. Tori, Labor Day week work for you? The following week will be Roundup.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause I.
So Labor Day week.
yeah, that 8, 9,
Okay.
10, we're out, like, I have,
No, I can't do it that
Which day of the week?
the fact that I have an Oregon infrastructure conference.
So the third week you've got on your list is the Pendleton Roundup, and a lot of local people go to the Pendleton Roundup. So I think we're looking at that. I think we're looking at Labor Day week.
3rd or
Like
4th,
the third, yeah.
3rd or 4th, great.
Yeah, Wednesday or Thursday. So it can't be Tuesday for me because that's
I
city
don't
council
think
night.
Thursday.
So I would prefer Wednesday or Thursday. I don't think I care which one.
How about the 4th?
The 4th though.
September 4th.
It's awesome.
Look
All
at that,
right.
look how we narrow this down.
Thank you.
5 p.m. again.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, 5 p.m. again? There was a lot of grumbling at
5:30.
5:30?
5:30, I'd probably go 5:30.
Doesn't matter. I just had an emergency go on tonight, so.
Okay, so September 4th, 5:30, 2 hours? Are you thinking?
I think what it's gonna be is if everybody can do your homework beforehand, it's not really gonna be a presentation, it's just gonna be, do you have any comments on the master plan? So
Hour.
I don't think a full 2 hours is needed unless there's some major changes requested. Hopefully there won't be.
Let's plan for an hour and a half, 5:30 to 7, and if we get done early, that's perfect.
Perfect, and you're saying calendar invite?
I will send a calendar invite tomorrow.
I know.
5:30, right?
Like.
5:30?
5:30, September 4th,
Yeah.
5:30. I will send a calendar invite tomorrow.
Okay, thank you all for your contributions tonight. I know it's a commitment. You've really contributed a lot to this plan, so thank you. Any final input from the PAC or any questions for me?
I don't think so. Hey, I did send you a notice. I have a conflict tomorrow at 11, so.
Okay, that's fine. Let's try to plan something for next week then.
Thank you.
We'll try to coordinate something.
Thanks, Jessica.
Bye.
So do you not, Jessica, do you not want to, you and I tomorrow then?
Oh, you mean Giselle?
Yeah, sorry, I saw Jessica. Giselle.
Oh, I was gonna say,
What?
No,